Welcome to Spotlight on New England, where we delve into the diverse and inspiring stories of pastors shaping communities across the New England area. Join us as we unravel their journeys, wisdom, and the unique experiences of these spiritual leaders who are making a profound impact in this region. Get ready for insightful conversations that transcend the pulpit and bring you closer to the heart of each pastor. Good afternoon and welcome to Spotlight on New England. We are here today with the Reverend Dr. Sandra Whitley, who is the pastor of Bethel A.M.E Church in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Welcome, Pastor Whitley, and thank you so much for making time to speak with us today.
Well, it is a joy and to be here, and I'm just so happy that you, presiding elder, have made this, giving us this opportunity. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. So your bio shares a number of things about your background, and there's so many that we could draw upon, but one that is a highlight for me is that you had a very successful career in the United States Air Force. Could you share a little about that?
Well, that goes back to growing up in a family where my father served in the Air Force and in Montgomery, Alabama. And so that's where I was born. That's where I was mostly raised. But the blessing was my father and him, we traveled all around the world and really enjoying that. So that made an impression on me. And I said that when I grow up, I want to join the military. And my father then says, no, what you will do is go to college first. And so that happened, and the rest is history.
What were you studying in college?
I went to Alabama State University. My bachelor's of science degree is in business administration.
And were you in the ROTC?
Yes. One day, driving home, this was about my junior year, driving home from working my little part-time job, that it was clear, like, oh, this voice that said, maybe not in an audible way, but check out the ROTC program. So I was excited. I couldn't wait. And I ran to the school and went to the commandant's office. And that's then when I knew about the ROTC, and this is what I was supposed to do.
So you entered the Air Force as a commissioned officer.
The date that you graduate, they also commission you into the Air Force. And so on my graduation date, I went to that ceremony, and then the next ceremony was that commissioning, and it was just wonderful.
Was your father able to be a part of that at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
He was. Oh, yes. And so my father, that was one proud day for him. So even though I didn't understand it back at that particular time, why I needed to not go to fashion designing, because that was a college and I would have been trained, but he was like, no, you can do that later. So when he came to my graduation and commissioning with my mother and my family, he let me know that that he was proud.
And you entered the way that he would have wanted you to.
That's right. Yes, because he entered as an NCO, and that was only because I'm the first in my family to attend college, and he wasn't able to, and nor was my mother. So yeah, that was it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Very proud moment.
Yes.
And you left the Air Force as a lieutenant colonel?
Yes. So I ended up, my first assignment was in Wichita Falls, Texas, Shepherd Air Force Base. And when I received word that my career field would be procurement, I remember also going to my dad and saying, Dad, they got me in procurement. What is that? And he basically made it real simple. You'll be buying them their pencils and toilet paper or something to that effect. There were very limited women in the military, and if they were in the military, they were in the nurses corps. So it turns out that Wichita Falls, Texas was the training base for nurses corps. So when I told him where I was going, he's like, okay, I want you to look up so and so. And so then I made that my habit throughout the 22 years, that he would always know somebody, and they would bring me under their wing, and especially the women who were not in certain career fields, and specifically not even very many, even people of color in the career field that I was in. Yeah.
And leaning into that, currently your involvement with the Governor of Massachusetts Advisory Council for Women Veterans, what type of work, advocacy do you do in that capacity?
So that is really good, in that if it had not been for me having served in the Pentagon, that was my previous assignment before being assigned here in Massachusetts. Think of some situations where it wasn't easy as a female, and then as a woman of color as well. So we are here in Massachusetts. I have learned that we are the only state in the nation that has veteran officers in every city and town.
Okay.
So we are like a model. And with that, then for just women veterans, they're just be able to make sure that we are addressing the needs, or letting and making sure that the women know that there are resources. What we've had 2 meetings thus far, monthly meetings, and our chairman, who happens to be a woman of color, and she was a retired brigadier general, and so her and getting us together. There are most women who don't believe that they are veterans, so they don't even know that they fall into, this that category. And so we want to get and to know them, and then be able to make sure that all of these resources that are available to us, that we are receiving them. So it's a wonderful thing, and then to know that there are females who are also in various towns throughout the Massachusetts Commonwealth that are female. And so it's like, okay, so yeah, that's basically, and the governor is very excited about what it is that we will be doing.
And so that's a way of remaining engaged and using the experiences and challenges.
Yes,
that
to be of encouragement and empowerment. And if you run into some obstacles, like I did, you're there to be of encouragement and to say, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
Can you share with me some of the things that you're working on at Bethel?
So we are working on a number of things, and since I was appointed there in June of 2021, and right in the middle of a pandemic, and that's why I said, I know every time someone asks me, I'm like, I need to write a book about this, because building relationships after being virtual, and the importance of relationships. But we were able to get a grant from the Massachusetts Council of Churches, and thank you, Presiding Elder, for your a recommendation to the Council of Churches. So our first grant was to be able to provide vaccines to the community, and particularly, again, where our community people just don't, and that's what I learned from the military as well, know how to step in to an environment that you're not familiar with. So stepping in and saying, okay, people of color, this is how we want to help you. So knowing that, it was wonderful for Bethel, who has historically, for 200 years, we have been a blessing to our community, where we know where people lived and how to then get there. So the vaccine clinics, so we've done about 11 of those, and received another grant from the Massachusetts Council of Churches to now then go in and evaluate, to do the research to see what the impact of COVID has been on our community of color. So we've done some surveys, and also we are working closely with the Homeless Service Providers Network.
How did you get involved with them?
With them because of my previous assignment, appointment in Chelsea with the homeless, and with Martin Luther King Day, and a young fourth grader writes a essay about her dream, and she wanted to end and prevent homelessness. And so that started a whole campaign in and of itself that got me connected to, on the state level, what the initiatives were regarding homelessness. And I am telling you, after that, my time there in Chelsea, and then coming here, and that was the first thing that I wanted to find out, what was the situation. And it's the same, but the population is doubled here than there. And so I have been very well received. I've done the Massachusetts Council of Churches, no, I'm sorry, the Massachusetts Coalition of Homelessness has every year, a legislative day. And so I was doing that before, and I'm familiar with it. People know me, and therefore I bring that here, and not necessarily do they have they been attending those legislative days, but we have it coming up on March the 7th, and I plan on being there, and I've been listening. And so all of our elected officials, they have been also connecting with me and sharing. So I believe that this was God's plan.
And you recently received funding?
Yes, and so as a result of that, so the connection with the at the state level, the Commonwealth, as they refer to it here, we were introduced to this grant, and
the grant was for what purpose?
The grant was for finding properties that would be able to house individuals who are going through a homeless situation. But the specifics is that in order for us to be able to help the population of people, we the first thing, if we could do, is what they call housing first. If we could get them housed first, then the other areas that they may be struggling with, recovery from substance or
Physical
mental health
disabilities
and disabilities. So then that is called the permanent supportive housing. And so with the permanent supportive housing, there was this grant, and all because, again, that's why I just don't want people to miss out on how the Lord can take and use the pandemic and make sure that those who have been oppressed or underserved, that's what the word was, underserved communities, have access to the funds that have been made available because of the pandemic. And so there's lots of funds, and it was called the ARPA funds that are being made available. And as those funds were being made available, how do you apply? So we have some property, and even though we it's not a whole lot of units, it's a single family property that we had. And so we decided, through a process of deciding what the disposition would be for this particular property, when this grant became available, we also were looking into that. And then, the long story short, because there is a process, that we are excited about the connection with the community, and then when we couldn't exactly get the approval or buy-in totally, there was another idea that came forward called master leasing that we did not know anything about. And so with that, we ended up successfully going through that process, looking at all of the agencies, and there were like 3 agencies that were doing master leasing. And so for a single family home that we can make available, that's what Bethel is doing. And then what we are finding, and I'm finding, that God has everything in his hand. So it takes me back to my background in contracting. So I'm like, oh God, okay, so he sends our pastors, he knows what the gifts that we have, and he also knows what it is that he wants to do to bless our community, who is not necessarily always the first who are being offered certain things.
Right. And many churches miss out on certain opportunities, interactions that you've had with individuals who address housing for those who are homeless. You've been able to bring those that involvement with you to New Bedford. And as a result of that, Bethel is able to use a property that they own to now provide housing for perhaps one family or multiple families.
One family, and that's what we are working with the agency that we have selected. And so it's still a process of unveiling and everything. But in addition to your question, also as a result, so for example, we in order to prepare the property for the family to move in, so we have a goal that we're trying to work towards. Well, we had to make sure that the lead and asbestos inspection. And so that's another grant that we found out that we are getting approved of. So the original grant won't have to use any of that money. So we'll have more money to do whatever upgrades and everything. So, and working through the government and the city government was what, and the network. Okay. So once we are out there and we let it be known that even though as persons of color, that we're coming to the table.
Exactly.
And so as we come to the table, we find out there's more and more and more resources that are available that we don't necessarily know about.
And it pays to have a presence in the community.
Yes.
And to be present at the table. What types of ministries are other than this housing project are you working on at Bethel?
So the other is what with my predecessors had started a Black Girl Magic conference. They call it an event that happens, and we had one of those events where the community of girls and young women and professionals to come and participate, and that went over very well. And so even though there may not be those members or part of the congregation, they are part of the community and they're constantly asking about that. So we have done that, the vaccine clinics, the working with homelessness and getting people housed, the and then the men's, well, we're trying to work on wanting to, the Sons of Allen, getting that more mobile and active, the women's ministry. But the real thing is, and as a result of Martin Luther King Day here, I was asked to be, I was the ram in the bush, but that's okay, to be the speaker. And with having reviewed those essays, my remembrance goes back to, these are dreams of these young people. How do we help as a community for their dreams to come true.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was with the city mayor, and he was at this event, and as we read those essays and saw what the concerns are of the young people, um, I'm going to be involved with the youth commission
Mm-hmm.
that he has, and therefore getting into the the lives and the community of the
Mm-hmm.
young people to try to meet them where they are,
Mm-hmm.
because they are missing from our congregation.
Amen. All righty. Reverend Whitley, perhaps something that folks don't know about you may be your interest in and skill in fashion designing. Would you like to chat a little bit about that? Are you still sewing, or are you still designing?
Yeah, I was talking about fashion designing was that second choice even after the first choice. And so with fashion designing, and I think the reason why I became interested in that, it was my mother. She taught me how to sew, and we didn't have a lot of money, and I was the firstborn child too, so I wasn't going to be asking for a lot, but I did like to look nice when I went to school. Okay, so my girlfriend and I would create. This was mostly in college, so we would start designing our own fashions, and so that's when I got started, and I kind of liked it. It was like, wow, look at that, and even so, this was the first thing. I don't know if you heard of Learners. Did you hear of Learners department store for
Yes.
Okay. So back in the day, Learners told me I had a gift of fashion designing, my own fashions, was when I had designed this beautiful two-piece outfit, and it was the fake fur, and it was with the jacket, with the hood on the back, and all of that, and had my little boots. And I think I made this for homecoming at Alabama State, where we on Thanksgiving Day was our homecoming, um, and that was a year before. And then I was in Learners one day, and I thought, look at this. I designed this. This is on their shelves, and they were selling it. And so that's when I said, yeah, I got a net. And then there was another outfit that I designed once, and then recently I've seen that one. And I'm like, this is really good. So, but my dad said, I want you to get an education. So what ends up happening is I got the education. Now, this is what I'm hoping with, even with ministry today, to be able to meet the young girls where they are. And and I did meet a family member, a young girl. The mother told me about last year sometime that her daughter was interested in designing fashions, but she was scared and she didn't know where to start. So I told her, you know what? We're gonna do this together. So I do so, and throughout my military career, if there was an opportunity where they had a fashion show, and usually they did around Black History Month, I would always prepare my outfit and model it.
And you're still, is that one of your creations you're
No,
wearing today?
this is not. This is somebody else's.
Oh, right.
Okay. I said I wish that I had worn one of my creations, but I'm getting ready to get back on the sewing machine, and stay tuned.
All right, I'll be looking forward to it. If you could please name 3 people, living or dead, with whom you'd like to have a conversation.
Living or dead, 3 people. Okay, first of all, I would like to have a conversation with both this couple, and that is, everybody probably says this, but that is President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Another person, living or dead. He's not dead, but I have some questions reserved for, because of the awesomeness of God. There are some questions. He's not dead. Jesus is not dead. But I have, when I see him and meet him face to face, I would like to have some conversations with Jesus Christ and God the Father. And those are the ones I can think of right now.
Okay. All right. And lastly, how would you like to be remembered?
Ooh. Well, this might be more spiritual, but I pray this prayer a lot, that as I read in the Bible about those who did what was right in the sight of God, has been my thought and my prayer to the Lord, that I want to be remembered as one who did what was right in the sight of God.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Whitley. Do you have time for a few lighthearted questions?
Oh, yes. Let's do it.
Good. And everybody by now knows that I sometimes watch late night TV, and Stephen Colbert does the Colbert questionnaire. Just fires off questions, and the guest shares whatever comes to his or her mind.
Okay.
And so I have about 9 questions for you. Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
What is the best sandwich?
The best sandwich is this sandwich that I had in Malibu, California, when I was living there, with the right bread, the honey wheat bread, and lots of meat, lettuce, tomatoes. But there was something special about this sandwich, and I can't even think of the name of it right now, but that would be my sandwich.
And most used app on your phone?
The most used app on my phone. The most used app. Oh my gosh. Okay. I would use Google.
Cats or dogs?
I'm going to say dogs, because of my first dog was a collie, and my dad and my family, my sister, brother, we named him Laddie. So I would say a dog.
All right. Flight or road trip?
Road trip. I want to go from coast to coast. Yes.
All righty. And what's one thing that you own that you really need to get rid of?
One thing that I own that I really need to get rid of: pairs of shoes.
Okay, that'll work. And what's one thing you must have if you were stranded on an island?
I don't know. I just love the Lord, and I believe in the Lord and His Word. So for me, that would be the Holy Bible.
Okay. And you get one song to listen to for the rest of your life.
And that's the song Kingdom by Maverick. Jesus is coming, He's coming, He's coming, He's coming. And so until He comes, that would be it.
All right. And describe your life, the rest of your life, in 5 words.
The rest of my life in 5 words. The rest of my life in 5 words. The rest of my life in the glory of God and the relationship with Him, and looking forward to His return. So I just know that I love the Lord God Almighty. And so just being in His presence, even if His presence is not here, that just being in His presence and being with others, giving and sharing the love of the Lord.
That was 100 words, Reverend Whitley. No, I'm just teasing you.
That's right. That's
5 words, not 5 sentences, but that's all right. We got the message. Thank you for your time today, Pastor Whitley. And it's been enjoyable speaking with you. And we pray God's blessings upon you and the ministry you're doing at Bethel.
Well, thank you so much, Presiding Elder. It's wonderful. You're wonderful.
God bless you.
You.